My name's Frank Zacarri, and this is Life Altering Events. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about getting unstuck. All right? Every one of us goes through periods in our life where we just feel stuck. And no matter what we do or what we try to do, it just never gets done. We never get around to it. We find ourselves in a rut and they're spinning our wheels and we're going nowhere. Many people just settle for being stuck. And they just say, well, someday, I looked on the calendar, there's no day that says someday. You're going to have to take action and get out of it. Now, it's important for people to embrace and activate change. However, before they can do it, they have to feel that, number one, it's possible, and number two, that it's important. So if you want to make a change, what do you want to change? Is it you want to stop smoking or drinking or become more assertive or get over a phobia that keeps you stuck? Is it important? But is it possible? And the answer is yes, it is possible. And my guest today, Darlene Corbett, is someone that will make it possible. Let me tell you a little bit about Darlene. Darlene has been a professional therapist for, I believe, 30 plus years. And she's a keynote speaker, she's an author, she's a licensed therapist and hypnotherapist, which we're going to touch on. And she's a podcaster. She's known as the Unstuck Expert. She's developed programs based on her experience. She's hired by organizations and corporations all over the world. And her book, Stop Depriving the World of You, is outstanding. And she's helping readers begin this unique journey to self-discovery. So if you haven't gotten this book, I have read this book. I have even given it to my daughters. Go get this book. She's been quoted in numerous publications. She's a featured contributor and columnist with Biz Catalyst 360, and she's a co-host of a radio show with Melody Beach on Unity Radio. So this is an incredibly busy woman and an incredibly accomplished woman. So Darlene, welcome to Life Altering Events.
Thank you so much, Frank, for having me. And thank you for that lovely, lovely welcome opening. Thank you.
Well, I'm just reading your credentials. You've done a lot. Now, Darlene, you've been doing this for close to 30 years. What led you? What was the motivation for wanting to get into this field? It's a tough field.
So being a therapist, I've been almost 40 years. But I became self-employed about a little over 30 years ago. I always wanted to help people. I fell in love with it. I came from a family where there was disabilities. The research shows often that the oldest female child goes into the fields of therapists, social work, teaching, because they learn to be sensitive. They become very attuned to those around them very early in their life. So I suspect that contributed to it. I love just listening. I love sharing. I love encouraging people. I've never stopped loving it. So it's something in my DNA, Frank, I think. I remember when I was a little girl, I'll just share this. My mother used to have all these people over. I'd come home from school and there'd be somebody sitting there telling her their problems. I thought, maybe the DNA is there right along.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. My grandmother, I'm Italian from New York.
Yes. So
my grandmother was the one who the old Italians thought had this power that she could cure the evil eye. And the same thing, we walked into the house and there'd be people all over the place and my grandmother basically holding court. And my oldest sister went into that field. So
there you have it.
You're clairvoyant.
That's right.
Now, Darlene, you're the Unstuck Expert. So what are the most common reasons why people come to see you? What are the most common reasons people feel stuck?
Yeah, that's a great question. People come, obviously, to see a therapist for a problem. They usually focus around work and love, communication, and secrets. Yeah. And some of those secrets they feel they need to reveal, and others they feel like they can't reveal. So I become the keeper of the secrets. I'm the keeper of the secrets anyway, because whatever they share with me, as you know, is confidential. But usually I would say those are the three things: love, work, four things: communication, which really falls under the work and love often, and secrets.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could see that. There's things that people want to say but feel inhibited
Yes,
in saying it, or feel that it would be threatening to them, or it's something they're ashamed of, but they don't know how to bring it out. Do you
that's
see
right.
that often?
Yes, and what I should have said, what people often present is they're depressed or they're anxious,
Right.
but you uncover some of that, and that's the issue. Sometimes they'll say this is the reason why, and it's clear. Other times it comes out more as we go along, like as I said before, peeling an onion away. So yes, it's some people it can be remedied rather quickly. When I say quickly, after some session, sometimes it's just a few sessions. Others, they stay with me because they can never share or they can never divulge what it is they have to carry. So I will be there for them, and they know that. Or they just need me as a confidant in general, that they don't have any major secrets, but the ones they like to talk about, or the ones that they feel they can't share with others, they can share with me.
That's great. Now, I've heard you say that what you do is you facilitate a corrective action.
Yes.
Explain that. What's that mean?
Yes. I'm really glad you asked that, because people in the therapy world, I think, are learning less about that. And many of us were trained, no matter what the most important element of the therapeutic experience is, often the relationship. I would say 99%. Now, you will get the behaviorists that say, well, we don't need to do that. And as a hypnotherapist, I get it. There are some techniques that can be done without having a real, caring, trusting relationship. But there has to be some element of trust. You have to believe in the therapist or hypnotherapist. But the corrective experience is often people are taught they're not good enough, or even if they aren't taught they're not good enough, they believe they're not, they're bullied. It can be in the home, it can be outside the home. And I can sit there and say to them, no, that's not the case, and give them a corrective experience to see that they are worthy, that what may have occurred in the past does not have to define the present or the future. That's the corrective experience. And I can be very impassioned, Frank. You probably, you see me on video.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm very impassioned with my clients. I'll get like, no, that is wrong. They should not be saying that to you. And then I'll say, am I being too much? And they say, more than often, they say, no, you are not. I thank you for doing that. I need to hear that. So that's
Exactly.
what I do for people. I let them see a reality that sometimes is obscure because everyone else around them is feeding into that really distorted reality.
That's right. I read an article you wrote recently that was about purpose and connection, and it had to do with seniors. Now, sometimes in our mind, we think that as we get older, we've gotten over all these issues. That's not the case, is it?
No, no. And some issues that were not dealt with can revisit. They may have submerged and they come back to haunt people later in life. But the biggest thing is people rely on certain chapters in their life. They believe are going to stay steadfast. Okay, I've got like this abundant life, work, family. Then they get to a certain point, as we know, and their world may shrink and they lose purpose and they lose connection. And as I talked to you, and you and I talked a few minutes before the show, even before COVID, the suicide rate was increasing. It's unfortunately and sadly, it's always been on the rise for men over a certain age. But what the researchers were baffled about, between 2000 and 2009, it increased markedly for Caucasian women between the ages of 44 and 64. Now, I use their identification because they did not see this in the Black, Asian, or Latino communities. They could
Mm,
not define one particular issue. They concluded it may have been financial ruin. I would say that's probably true. Disappointment in life, I would agree. And just giving up, and substance abuse. They're missing, I believe, because you didn't see this in the other communities where there's a stronger community, purpose and connection. I really believe people believe after a certain age, it's all over. And I can give you an example of where I've even read that real quickly. I read in the Wall Street Journal about this woman took up skydiving at 55, and she said she had friends over 50 that said, it's all over. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. A new chapter has just begun.
that's interesting. In your article, you were talking about obviously now we're in the COVID world,
Yes.
and seniors in their 50s, they're scared to death.
Yes.
Is the job going to go away? Is it going to come back? Am I going to get rehired? Did I save enough?
Yes.
Do you see all those things percolating up to cause this depression and lack of connection?
Yes, absolutely. And I think what is scary is some people that are our ages are fearful of trying new things. And I understand that, learning this new technology, which is not always easy to navigate. But they don't, what they're missing, and they say, oh, I'm too old to learn that. That is such a false narrative. It may take a little bit longer, but it's not too late. And I think if people open themselves up and are willing to get out of their fear, which I think is one of the greatest mobilizers and one of the greatest immobilizers, they can begin to find their resources. For example, my colleague and co-host of Unity Radio, which I'm actually taking a break from, I'm doing too many things, as you know. But Melody Beach has groups for 50 plus, it's called the 50 plus job group. This is something that did not exist several years ago. She didn't start it, but she is expanding it left and right. There are places, and they're not just over 50, they're over 60, maybe over 70. People have to be open to the possibilities. I get the fear, I do. But the only way to help navigate that is by tapping into your resources that are both internal and external.
I can understand that also is
Yes.
when, particularly if you're in your 60s or
Yes.
late 50s, we grew up, you go to work for someone, you work
Yes.
for a business, for a corporation, and then you can start seeing yourself being phased out because
Yes.
you're too old,
Yes.
you cost too much for healthcare,
Yes.
you are inflexible, and then whether you are or you aren't, this is
Right.
the perception.
Yes.
And perception becomes reality.
Yes.
And then when something occurs, you say, well, what else? I don't know anything else.
Yes.
What do you say to people who tell you, I don't know anything else?
See, I will get them to begin to think. I try. I can't say I will get them. It's up to them. But I essentially remind them they know more than they think. We often don't realize we can tap into the inner resources. For example, I haven't seen her in a long time. I saw a lovely woman in her early 70s. She said, Darlene, I don't want to retire. She said, I had to raise my children. She was a single parent. I didn't learn hobbies and how to play chess and do all these different things. So I said to her, the beauty of living now, there is something called virtual assistants. You have those skills. She never heard of it. So I think the most important thing I say to these people, you have skills and talents that could be directed in another area. And that's why I talk about Melody's groups. And I talk about you need to be open and see you are not obsolete. Your talents and skills are not. You may have to redirect them. You may need a little more training, but they're not obsolete. Because we know there's ageism, Frank. I agree. But we have to get people to see that we can learn from the young. They develop these virtual assistant experiences. They can learn from us. We have that work ethic and that know-it-all, and wisdom in many areas does come with age.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. The key thing as watching and working in the corporate sector for many years was you were able to think critically.
Yes.
All right, because here's the script, but okay, the script doesn't always work. So
Right.
there's that critical thinking, and that's innovative ideas. The term I hate is think outside the box, right? I work with Jay Abraham. Jay Abraham says there is no box. There is no box, and he says that seniors have that capability. Now, how do you package it?
That's right.
That is so interesting.
Yes,
Now,
and that's where they have to find people that can help with. And there are more. The good news is there's more out there than ever before.
And that is encouraging. And so Melody Beach, I will touch base with her and bring her on the show too, and we'll continue this conversation.
She's hopefully watching. I told her to watch it. She said she put it on her calendar. That'd be great. Yes.
Wonderful. Now, Darlene, you're also a hypnotherapist.
Yes.
And there's all kinds of weirdness and outdated ideas about this hypnotherapy. The guy on TV with the watch and people barking like dogs and all that.
Yes.
Dispel this myth.
I certainly will, because I have the same ideas. I almost didn't train. This is 30 years. Let's say I trained in 1991. I almost didn't train. I thought, I'm not learning that hocus pocus. It is such a myth, Frank. And it's the entertainment hypnotists. They got far more money than we do, but they do use some of the same techniques. What they don't use, they don't understand. And that's why I'm a little biased. You should have an understanding of the unconscious, is how much it can impact the unconscious. Even if someone is totally conscious, you are using the unconscious. So this is the myth. What is hypnosis, first of all? So the formal interpretation is hypnosis is an altered state of consciousness. Certain stimuli comes forward, certain retreats in the background. What does that mean? If people like to read and they get engrossed, they don't hear anything because they're not listening to the background.
Mhm.
When you're driving a car, that's the greatest example. You're busy thinking, but you're driving, you're able to get where you want. You wonder how you get there because you're thinking about something else.
That's right.
That's a dissociative state. So the informal definition that a 90-year-old at the time, he just passed at 98, hypnotherapist said to all of us, call it a daydream. That's what it is. Hypnosis is a daydream. And it's a wonderful, wonderful creative aspect we were given. And kids are highly hypnotizable because you see them daydreaming. You see little kids, imaginary friends floating off. I remember as a child floating off. Through the use of this daydream, you can tap into the conscious mind as well as the unconscious mind. The beauty is you are totally in control. That's the biggest myth. Oh, I'm going to lose control. Someone's going to have control of me. I would have told you about 10 years ago that's 100% wrong, except if you become part of a cult or you're with a very charismatic leader, you've already been indoctrinated. That's where you might see control, but they're being controlled anyway, whether it be hypnotically or non-hypnotically. So that's where I would say, okay, I will concur on that may be a case, but I've seen hundreds and hundreds of people for hypnosis. No one feels in control no one feels like I'm controlling them when I see them. They remember most of the experience. 95% of people say to me, that was interesting, or I felt great, but I wasn't under. I said, there is no under. The under is a state of well-being, a state of relaxation, a state known as trance, no one going more inward, but it's a familiar state for most people. They just don't always know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
A state of relaxation. I've never heard it put like that before.
Yes.
But
You can hypnotize people and not relax them. I don't use those techniques. I think there's a way you can get them to be a little bit more hyped, or, for example, you can enhance an affect. You can enhance happiness. You can enhance sadness. It's a very powerful tool. So you have to know what you're doing, but I tend to do always, there's 4 stages. There's the induction, there's the deepening, there's the problem solving, there's the termination. During the deepening, I always relax people. I would probably say 90% of the time, I do what's called the waves of relaxation, or another kind of relaxation technique. Yeah.
Outstanding. I saw in your book, you said hypnotherapy, you cannot make somebody do something they don't want to do.
That's right.
Explain that.
That's where they're in control. So I've had people that, very few people, I can count on one hand the people that have never been able to go into a state of well-being. But most of the people will not do something. If I say you're going to notice something beautiful or something, you're going to notice a positive image of yourself, and they're not ready to do that. They'll say, no, I don't see anything. The defenses are working for whatever reason. So what you often say, because the defenses are protective, you'll learn more about that, or you'll see that when you're ready to be able to do that. You gently prod. Now, if somebody says to me, I can't see. So for example, I have a stage technique. I didn't develop that. It's called a theater. And you have them look at a stage, and an act 1 of the play is about to begin. They'll say, I don't see anything. So I'll gently prod them, and I'll say, notice there's some glasses next to you on the seat. This is the beauty of hypnosis. You can be creative. Put them on and just adjust them, or binoculars, and adjust them. And let's see if you can see And sometimes they do. So it depends on the client, but if they didn't want to, they will not. So those who think they are being controlled or doing things like quacking like ducks and barking like dogs, it's called perceived involuntarism. For example, I do a technique called the magnets. You're going to bring your hands together, opposite, notice the attraction, and people will do this. Well, sometimes they'll go, oh my God, my hands came together. I don't do this so much virtually these days, but
Right.
because I can't see the hand often.
Right.
But in person I do that. And they'll say, oh my gosh, I did that. And I didn't even notice it was happening. I say, you allow that to happen. That's one of the phenomena of hypnotherapy. It's called perceived involuntarism. And that is the mystery. And that is the misperception that so many people get. They will not do it unless they're willing to do it.
That's incredible. Thank you for clearing that up, because I have
Yeah.
talked to a number of people and they're always doing this. Come on, Frank, this is hocus pocus. I'm also hearing, Darlene, healing centers
Yes.
are coming up more and more. And in fact, one of my partners and I are looking into this.
Yes.
And one of the things was to have hypnotherapy as one of the offerings for this.
Yes.
That it's real, that
Yes.
it is, as one person said, it's more of an alternative medicine approach. And people are looking, since the medical system is so badly damaged, for ways where they can help themselves by going to something. Are you seeing more and more of that?
I'm not seeing it so much, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. So, but I do think that people, I'm hoping when I hear that these centers are being developed, that people really get an understanding of what hypnotherapy is, that it's not quackery. So it's an alternative medicine, and there's a research of science behind it. That's the beauty. The American Society of Clinical Hypnosis, as well as the Society of, I think it's Experimental Hypnosis, they are doing constant research to validate, to prove to people these techniques are effective and can help them and heal them.
That is so important. And we've talked about this, and we'll continue to talk about this healing center as we go forward after
I think
today.
it's great, Frank. It's great. Yeah.
You mentioned you're the keeper of the secrets.
Yes.
And I've heard you talk, and I've read some articles about you, and you talk a great deal about deep listening.
Yes.
Okay, what is deep listening?
I'm glad you asked that. So I call it engaged communication. It's very hard to listen. People think, oh, you listen and it must be fun. And sometimes it is, but it's not an easy. You have to constantly be aware. So, and I call it engaged because it's not just with our ears. We have to pay attention to body movements, body gestures of the face, noticing if there's any changes in the affect, paying close attention to more than what's just being stated, but how it's being stated and how the body is also displaying it. That is engaged communication to me. Effective communication, you often think about speaking. Someone speaks really well, but the listening is the understated sibling in the communication family. And I think the most important, you really have to listen. And that's why, Frank, I don't like doing telephone therapy unless I know the person. This is superb. But to me, I can hear them, but I can't see why they're silent. I can't see the tears that might be rolling down. This to me is it's kind of like a multi-sensory listening. You're doing it with your eyes, ears, all your senses are really involved in this very important aspect of being there for another human being. So yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I also saw in articles you've written about the importance of quiet while listening, quiet while you're by yourself. Go into that a little bit. What's the importance of quiet?
I'm so glad you're asking that, because we are in a busy, busy society. I think quiet brings on so many things. First of all, I think quieting the mind quiets the body, vice versa. I think sometimes it doesn't have to be stone silence. For example, I said sometimes having beautiful classical music in the background can quiet the mind, quiet the being. I also believe that quiet invites ideas. Sometimes if you're quiet in the mind, even if there might be noise around you, you can go inward and get quiet. You have to really just focus and go like almost a hypnotic state and invite quiet in. But I think whether it's externally or internally, quiet invites the imagination, it invites creativity, invites being open to the possibility and seeing sometimes. Being with quiet makes you more aware, perhaps of a fleeting opportunity that you might miss if there's too much noise. Also, if you're quiet, you might let someone that never talks, they might actually say something. Everybody's so busy talking. If everybody's quiet, maybe that person who never talks will vocalize something, and you're inviting through your quiet another human to give experience to.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive because I've known so many people who are in output mode only, and they stifle, and this was in the corporate world in particular,
Yes.
they would stifle so many people and so many ideas that could have made a major difference,
Yes.
but they just
I
wouldn't shut
agree.
up.
Yes.
I love that. Now, Darlene, one time we spoke and you told me you had a terrible fear of public speaking. Now,
Yes.
today, you're a keynote speaker. You're an
Yeah.
author, you podcast, you do videos. How did you get over this?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I was thinking about doing a Facebook Live about how I managed to do those, but I was scared to death. I'll never forget years ago, I was doing grand rounds in Needham, Mass for the physicians. I'm like, why? I had done it before. And the second time, I drove my husband crazy. I thought, why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. And it went fine. I decided I needed to get over this, and I slowly started to. I would be asked to speak, and I realized I wanted to bring my message to a larger platform. What did I do? I went to Toastmasters. I thought, with a lot of wonderful things that prompted me to do so. I had people saying, why don't you do this? I go, oh, yeah, okay. Toastmasters gives you the ability to get up and talk about a variety of topics, to speak extemporaneously. That helped me begin to get over my fear. And I slowly and steadily did. And it helped me really develop it. It's like a musical instrument, Frank. It's like developing something and saying, the more you do it, the better you get. That is the beauty of Toastmasters, the art of speaking. I joined National Speakers Association, which also offers that, but that's more about the business of speaking.
Mhm.
Then, as far as writing is concerned, I think I was even more fearful of that. To put yourself out there, because it's so personal, writing, as you know. I mean, speaking is too, but writing, if you put something on paper, people can criticize. They might not do it to your face when you're speaking, but boy, they'll go after you writing, right? But I did it. And I got criticized actually about an article I wrote about my mother and her working until she almost died, and how, people are criticizing, I feel bad for your mother and we don't agree with you. And I diplomatically, but said, thank you. But my mother was independent. Isn't that all what we want, as much as we can be when we're older? And I finally just started writing more on LinkedIn and writing. And then my articles got in front of an administrative assistant, of a publisher, and that reinforced that I was doing something right. And so now I won't stop writing. As far as the Facebook Lives, I think the Toastmasters, as well as I'm in this video group still with this amazing woman, Gina Carr, that got us to do challenges. So I'm very comfortable now. But again, I invite people to consider it's like learning a musical instrument. The more you get, the more you practice, the more effective you are, the more comfortable you are. I really believe it's a skill that can be developed for most people, but they have to get over the fear. And I get over the fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have never seen Biz Catalyst 360, okay, if you've never seen that, go into that. You'll see Darlene has articles longer than your arm, and they relate, and you read it and say, oh my God, she's talking about me. It's just amazing.
Thank you, Frank. And I want to give a shout out to Dennis. He's our friend, both of you. That's how you and I met. Dennis Potoko.
Yes,
He really is amazing that he invites us all to share with the community. So a big shout out to him also.
absolutely. Dennis is
Yes.
outstanding. Now, Darlene, I read your book,
Yes.
Stop Depriving the World of Yourself, of you.
Yes.
Stop depriving the world of you. Okay. What message are you sending to people? What are you trying them to get for them to understand?
Yes. You know, as I told you, I get very enthused, sometimes a little over enthused, and even with my clients. And I started saying it to some really lovely people that had bad experiences with people in general, or with other therapists, not horrible, but that made them uncomfortable. And I said, you have so much to offer. I want you to go out there and try. And they'd say, Darlene, you're easy to talk to, but I'm afraid I will, but you're depriving the world of you. So I started saying that. And I believe, Frank, and I firmly believe every human being has every right to be there, show their unique self, show the world who they are. And even at this nice ripe age of over 60, it's not too late. 70, it's not too late. Just do something that shows that you can show your authentic, unique self. Because I really believe they're depriving themselves, but they're depriving the world of them. And what do they have? They don't even know sometimes what they have to offer. And so I feel so strongly about that. I can't even put it into words how strong I feel about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the book is tremendous. Go buy it. It's
Thank you
just going to
so much.
blow your mind. I was in awe. You also are doing, Darlene, uh, almost like a daily podcast, a daily message. And every
Yes,
day of the week, you seem to have
yes.
a different theme. And is that going to expand upon your book? Are you extending yourself that way with these daily?
Yeah. Well, I'm doing this Facebook group. I'm really glad that so many people want to be a part of it, and so many people want to show themselves. And as you hear me sometimes, I say that those of you that haven't yet, just notice you're going to want to do it soon. And so I'm using it also as eventually to share more some products I'm developing. I'm developing some hypnosis products, maybe a retreat in the spring, and also I plan on doing some kind of membership club sometime next year, and that will be paid subscription, but very not a lot, and really taking some group, and maybe it'll be some of these people, maybe it'll be other people, maybe it'll be just a few, we'll see, and invite them to really get into their minds, to help them develop their unique self based along on my book and my hypnosis, and help them elevate and see that they can go in beyond ways they couldn't even imagine. And that's my hope. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a huge success. As you said, connection is a big issue, and
Yes.
connection now in the last year and who knows how much longer is something we're losing. So the
Yes.
ability to come together with a group, even if it's virtual,
Yes.
is going to be a big
Frank,
deal.
I'm so glad you're saying that, because so many people go, oh, it's not the same. Of course it's not the same. We can't touch, we can't hold. But you know what? What's the alternative? I've met some of the nicest people like you virtually, and I'm hoping maybe someday we'll meet in person. But my goodness, it has been a treat to meet some of the most remarkable people during this pandemic. So I feel really blessed that we have these tools to allow us to do so.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, Darlene, with all you've accomplished,
Yes.
and what last thoughts do you want to leave with the viewers around the world?
Yes. I want you I want everyone to listen to what you just said in my book says, stop depriving the world of you. If you have an idea, if you have something that you've always wanted to try, but you're afraid of what other people think, you need to find the right resources and the right supports, and they are out there. Don't let anyone else hold you back. There's many people we're all part of a tribe, and tribes are powerful. Don't let the tribe, if they're trying to hold you back. You can say to them, I appreciate what you say, but I don't agree. And you go forward. And if they want good for you, they're going to support you. Remember, sometimes people's own fears are fearful that someone else is going to grow and move past them. So you know what? They can join you. Be a role model if you want, or not, but do something. If you have that in you, or you don't even know what it is, keep looking, write it down, explore it. It will come. I promise you. Just don't leave this world someday, the end of your book, and say, I wish I could have done, or at least I
Yes,
wish I could have tried.
exactly. Have no regret. Live your
That's
life
right.
and have no regrets.
That's right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about out of time. I want to thank Darlene again. Thank you so much. We had Darlene on the radio side, had a big following. So we said we need to get her back on the television side. So thank you again, Darlene.
Oh, Frank, it's been an honor and a pleasure. I feel like we do know each other. We'll just meet someday in person, right? Thank you so
Eventually, we'll
much.
get together.
That's
Now,
right.
ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we're just about out of time. No matter what life throws at you, and it's going to throw a lot at you, please follow Darlene's idea here and do three things: look up, get up, and never ever give up. Pick up the pieces and start moving forward, and better people and better times will come into your life. If you like more information on Darlene, she's all over the internet. You can find her easily, or send information to me and I will make sure that she gets it. You can see this show on Roku TV, on the Life Altering Event channel, or you can see it on my YouTube page, Frank Zacarri, and I think it's called Life Altering Events. I will send links to Darlene as it gets closer to publication, and she will post them all the places that she posts things. If you do go to YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. You can see all of our interviews at that point. Now, let me leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen, as I do every week. None of us are in this alone. And the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Darlene showed us where many of those rocks are. Join me again next week. We'll talk about another life-altering event. Thank you again, Darlene.
Thank you.